Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdsson of World Alternative Media here, and the eugenicist transhumanists are at it again, my friends, and they're calling it a leap forward. Scientists discover a way to control DNA with electricity. Now, if you told someone this 10 years ago, they'd think you were absolutely crazy, but here we have that actual move forward. And we're seeing this in a lot of different ways, how they're using DNA and brain stems and all that kind of stuff in order to get different kinds of information and control people's minds and bodies. This out of Zero Hedge, Australian intelligence agency funding research to merge human brain cells with AI. And this has been an agenda that they've been pushing forward, obviously, very long now. But we're right on the cusp of it with Neuralink and with these digital IDs that they want to attach to us, with the eugenicist experiments, with the injections over the last several years. We are on the verge of complete transhumanism. Let's just throw another thing out there. What about, trans kids? They're trying to make boys girls and girls boys. And obviously that's a part of the eugenicist transhumanist agenda. It's both to make sure that people don't have babies. It's to demoralize people. It is to change what it means to be human to begin with, which is a Tower of Babel scenario. And so we are going to go into some of these examples today. And there's a lot more to this, of course, with WorldCoin, which is using people's iris scans in order to access, which it's insane that people are actually lining up for this. Totally insane. And of course, the fact that WorldCoin is here, it says just get your eye scanned by the orb and your new world ID will be issued to you. Well, what kind of world ID is that? Well, according to Sam Altman, who of course is one of the top people in the development of AI and ChatGPT and all that kind of stuff, he said it says WorldCoin says it will allow companies, governments to use its face scanning ID system. Okay, the main word there is governments. Yeah, it sounds like those conspiracy theorists are right yet again. Where is my participation trophy? We are going to get into this insane push, by the way, for the merging of DNA and electricity, the control of a human body with this. Of course, they've done tests on this kind of stuff going back to the 40s with what is now cell phone towers and 5G technology. And we also know Moderna has a master patent where it's from 2018. They could inject you, and it would be with a shot, a so-called vaccine. And they could utilize 5G technology to manipulate your system through both, nanotech and organic, electric involvement. So, for example, it will contain organic and inorganic materials both. And a lot of people are saying, well, it looks very much like they just did that with the injections, though. We haven't gotten full confirmation. There is evidence of nanotech in it, and of course inorganic substances which then clot and control cells. So this is already happening to a great degree. So that is based on technology from the 40s, where they controlled people in small towns with these towers. The CIA did anyway, and it caused people to commit suicide. It made people sick. It gave people cluster headaches. Horrible stuff that happened to these people, these innocent, unsuspecting people, by the way, in these small towns. And it's developed into this, and I guarantee you it's much more further developed than people realize. So anyway, we're going to get into this and much more today, my friends. But before we do, I urge people to check those links below. Go to heavensharvest.com for long-term storable foods that are non-GMO, heirloom seeds, water filtration and storage, and books on how to get started. We also have organic kits. Use code WAM, W-A-M, and you get free shipping on much of these products. Again, this is a way to evade the insanity of technocracy, the insanity of the Great Reset. So we aren't stuck with empty shelves with mRNA food technology, with CBDCs that are going to be the only path to getting or accessing food through FEMA and all these other things. If we don't get on this for ourselves and our families and our loved ones, it is absolutely detrimental to the health of future humanity. If we want to save the world from the Great Reset, from the Tower of Babel, we must go back to what it means to be human in the first place. Independence, individualism. Be prepared, my friends. While we're at it, we may as well bring up another health thing here because this is very important. We have a link for rncstore.com, Richardson Nutritional Center, your source for Laetrile online. Made famous by G. Edward Griffin's book, World Without Cancer. Get your apricot seeds, Laetrile, amygdalin, and vitamin B17 there, and get it while you still can. They are trying to poison us in many ways, my friends, and some of it is mentally, some of it's physically, some of it is just based on morality. This out of technocracy.news. It says leap forward. Scientists discover way to control DNA with electricity. And as the article goes into, it says, according to the study, bridging analog DNA with digital/electrical stimulation paves the way for wearable-based electro-controlled gene expression with the potential to connect medical interventions to an Internet of the Body or the Internet of Things. This is the outcome of NBIC Convergent Science, the holy grail of transhumanism. Now, I wanted to point out that this would fit into a 15-minute city scenario greatly. And, I mean, at this moment, Xi Jinping in China is building a whole city by his namesake and forcing people out of Beijing to go live in this city where every light post has facial recognition cameras on it. We already see how technocracy has developed over the years with cashless society and facial recognition and social credit and carbon credits and all that kind of stuff in China over the years. Well, as I was just in Oxford, England, reporting inside a 15-minute city, doing a documentary, which, by the way, you can help support us by going to our GoGetFunding.com campaign. For that, we need to raise up to $10,000 to make back the debts that we put into that movie. But nonetheless, going into that 15-minute city, it made me realize, like, every single day as they put up cameras, no one seems to notice. No one seems to acknowledge the fact that they're putting up these cameras everywhere with facial recognition, with license plate readers. And it's where you won't be able to leave your city more than 100 your area anyway, more than 100 times a year. Can't travel. And with a digital unified ledger attached to a digital ID, which the UN is pushing forward right now, attached to your bank account, you won't be able to access food. You won't be able to access electricity. You won't be able to access anything in life without going along with this agenda. So if you have a whole bunch of people, with wearable devices or even external devices that are affecting you from street lights and light poles and all that kind of stuff, which is very much possible, as crazy as that sounds, then you can just control people from outside the body in this way that's never been possible before and connect it to that system. They already have sensors in sidewalks that can tell where people are walking. You don't need a microchip if you have a cell phone on you, if you have facial recognition everywhere, and London has had this for a long time. So just beware of what's coming next, my friends. It says, scientists have demonstrated that human genes can be controlled with electricity, a breakthrough that could pave the way toward wearable devices that program genes to perform medical interventions, reports a new study. And what kind of medical intervention is that? Say they acknowledge that, oh, well, you might have cancer that we gave to you in the first place, so here's a bunch of radiation that will probably kill you. Or, oh, you have a cough, here's some remdesivir. We need to immediately change your body's makeup down to the neurons, and it's about saving lives. That's what they always say. They said the same thing with fluoride, hydrofluorosilicic acid. They put it in the water. Oh, it's to stop cavities in children that can't afford toothpaste. First of all, most welfare programs do provide toothpaste. Second, in cities with the lowest rate of fluoride or no fluoride at all, they have the lowest rate of cavities. So that's obviously nonsense. You can look at the studies between Toronto, Canada, and Vancouver, Canada for that. But nonetheless, I digress. It says here, in a novel experiment, researchers were able to trigger insulin production in human cells by sending electrical currents through an electrogenetic interface that activates targeted genes. Future applications of this interface could be developed to deliver therapeutic doses to treat a wide range of conditions, including diabetes, by directly controlling human DNA with electricity. Sounds jolly, isn't it? Well, it does other things too. And by the way, that's the same thing that, they would say about things like Neuralink. Oh, well, Neuralink is going to help everyone because what it's going to do, they say, as Elon Musk, the guy whose grandfather started the Technate Party in the 1940s to create a global technocracy world government, Joshua Haldeman, you can look him up. He's May Musk's father. Anyway, carrying on. Neuralink, the whole idea was, oh, well, we could stop Alzheimer's and dementia. We can allow everyone to speak the same language, which is what happened in the Tower of Babel, by the way. So there's a big red flag there. We can control people's brains. And then when Elon Musk was asked, would he put one of these things in, he's like, oh, I might wait a while. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah. It's for the peasants. It's for the peasants. Now, Elon Musk could say a bunch of great things that regard, how horrible it is to transition children and chemically castrate them. Great. I appreciate that. He can speak out against vaccines. Oh, he was promoting them to his supporters back in 2021, saying it's the same thing as, an insulin shot. But nonetheless, he's telling everyone he's telling everyone now that the vaccines could be causing a lot of these deaths. Yeah, well, welcome to the club. Years late. He says a lot of things that people like and stops censorship on Twitter, though I get my posts taken down still all the time. The point is, don't fall for false idols. He's pushing a brain interface that could manipulate your mind in any way, shape, or form using 5G technology. So, and he also says chemtrails don't exist, which they do, and there's government, very well documented government work on that. But nonetheless, it's just one of those things where they always use like, hey, we could stop diabetes. We could stop, a range of different diseases. Great. Sounds fun. That's what they said about the injection too. How's that going for you? And, what do we give up in order to get this? Okay, well, maybe it will cure diabetes, though there are many ways to cure diabetes, and G. Edward Griffin has been studying that since the 50s. But with that said, will you give up your diabetes to then gain cancer and who knows the genetic disposition of your body, of your soul, of your individual, and make you basically a walking, talking robot that could be controlled by a system of governance based in technocracy where you are stuck in your own neighborhood and you have your face on every camera and you never have privacy and you never have your own free will? That is a question everyone should be asking. And they rarely do because people like shiny new things. Tyranny comes under the guise of convenience, as always, my friends. But anyway, it says here, there's currently an explosion of interest in medical wearables, which are a health-centric portable technologies such as fitness trackers, biosensors, blood pressure monitors, and portable electrocardiogram devices. Smart wearables have become an essential tool for many doctors and patients, spurring researchers to continue developing novel platforms for collecting medical data or even performing medical interventions. Now scientists led by Jimbo Huang, a molecular biologist at ETH Zurich, have invented a battery-powered interface that they call the direct current, DC, actuated regulation technology, or DART, that can trigger specific gene responses with an electrical current. Huang and his colleagues described this device as a leap forward, representing the missing link that will enable wearables to control genes in the not-so-distant future, according to a study published on Monday in Nature. Can I also mention that Tesla came up with this a long time ago, but as a means to, helping people, and of course, there are those electric machines that I've used before where they, you have an issue with an organ or with a muscle or with a nerve, and you use this and it makes you feel a lot better. And a lot of people swear by these machines. I forget what they're called, but I'm sure we'll get comments below on it. But it's like this static electric machine that changes your bodily immunology, I guess you could say. It can make you, a sick person, feel better. It could do a lot of these things. You hurt a nerve, and you can, put it on your leg where you were working out and you did a squat, and like you're with a kettlebell or something, and your nerve just gives out on you, and you end up with intense pain. And I've had this happen. And then you could use this thing and you feel better. Now, he got that from the fact that we are living in a world full of electrons and we have frequency all around us, and we can harness that and give free energy and also fix the human body with it. That is absolutely true. However, when you use it from an outside perspective for the purpose of stopping diseases, that you can then reprogram the genes of a body, you can reprogram your DNA, then we're talking about something far more transhumanist. And it should concern everyone what this thing could be capable of doing and how far it will go. And I've said for a long time, I think technology should have just stopped in the 90s. I appreciate innovation, and I love capitalism, and I love that push forward to create new things, great products at great prices, but there needs to be a bit of a slowdown, in my opinion. Not that that will happen. I'm just saying there needs to be, because we're going too far. And we're losing our humanity while we're at it, and we're becoming weaker and weaker and more dependent, and that means that us as a human race lack the strength and the skills to keep ourselves on our feet in the case of an EMP attack, in the case of a disaster. So this really greatly concerns me. But anyway, it says, and I quote, electronic and biological systems function in a radically different way, ways that are largely incompatible due to the lack of functional communication interface. The team said in the study, while biological systems are analog, programmed by genetics, updated slowly by evolution, and controlled by ions flowing through insulated membranes, electronic systems are digital, programmed by readily updated software, and controlled by electrons flowing through through insulated wires. I wonder how much they're updating that program or that software. And will you have the ability to figure it out when they do it? It says, and I quote, electrogenetic interfaces that would enable electronic devices to control gene expression remain the missing link in the path to full compatibility and interoperability of the electronic and genetic worlds, the researchers added. With that in mind, the team aimed to forge a direct connection between our analog DNA, which is the biological alphabet that governs the life cycles of all organisms on Earth, and the electronic systems that form the basis of digital technologies. And you can actually see an original story on this from Vice. So scientists control human DNA with electricity and leap forward study report. So for the skeptics out there, you got your beloved mainstream media rag acknowledging it here. So anyway, my point is this is all happening at the same time as they've already unrolled this brain interface. And a lot of people have been hooked up with it in Australia. It passed the health testing last year, and we reported on it at the time. And now we're also seeing the push for Neuralink go forward as well. Australian Intelligence Agency funding research to merge human brain cells with AI. So why is an intelligence agency involved in this at all? Because remember, the intelligence agencies aren't about intelligence as much as they are about control of intelligence and how to control the minds of the populace and how to then create problem, reaction, solution, repeat, the Hegelian dialectic. It says, Australia's Office of National Intelligence, the equivalent of the U.S. Director of National Intelligence, is funding a project to study ways of merging human brain cells with artificial intelligence. A team of researchers collaborating with Melbourne-based startup Cortical Labs received a $600,000 grant to merge biology with AI. The team has already demonstrated how roughly 800,000 brain cells in a petri dish is capable of playing a game of Pong. Oh, my God. This is bad, man. This is bad, my friends. It's so far along. I mean, imagine how far along it really is if this is just what we're hearing today. And I quote, this new technology capability in the future may eventually surpass the performance of existing purely silicon-based hardware, said team lead Adil Razi, an associate professor at Monarch University. The outcomes of such research would have significant implications across multiple fields such as, but not limited to, planning robotics, advanced automation, brain-machine interfaces, and drug discovery, giving Australia a significant strategic advantage. According to Razi, the tech could allow a machine intelligence to learn through its lifetime like human brain cells, allowing it to learn new skills without losing old ones, as well as applying existing knowledge to new tasks. Razi and his colleagues are aiming to grow brain cells in a lab dish called the Dish Brain System to investigate this process of continual lifelong learning, which they'll say, again, it'll stop Alzheimer's, it'll stop all these things. Yeah, they always have to dangle the shiny keys in front of the baby, and the populace is a baby. And, when they're talking, of course, about the advantages of this and learning through a lifetime, what they're basically saying is that these people that are using this interface will slowly have their brain downloaded into a computer. And now tie in the fact that you have these 15-minute cities, you have this DNA control, you have this eugenics experiment that is the injections, you have the cashless society, you have the destruction of the supply chain, the destruction of the energy grid, the destruction of the housing market, the destruction of the economy, the destruction of childhoods with immoral practices and the chemical castration, the destruction of civilization with fake World War III scenarios and all this kind of stuff, and then the push for BRICS world reserve currency, and then, of course, the Chinese model, which was, of course, the zero COVID policy, which is now the zero carbon policy worldwide with the 15-minute cities. It is quite clear what we're witnessing before our eyes. These things don't all happen at the same time, by accident. These things are all happening at the same time because there's a concerted agenda in order to destroy humanity from the inside out, to destroy the individual, to destroy the meaning of humanity, which is individualism, responsibility, freedom. They're all the same thing. Freedom isn't something you hold in your hands. You are free or you're not, and that is the essence of humanity. But right now what we are seeing is the offloading of responsibility, the offloading of humanity into a big Tower of Babel type scenario. Now, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Of course, as we see, you have to finish building that tower before it can fall over. Eventually, it will fall over. But what happened in the Tower of Babel? Everyone spoke the same language. They tried to replace God. And when they built that tower to the stars, it was struck down, and it collapsed into its footprint, kind of like Building 7. And everyone that survived this collapse of this tower, they spoke different languages, and then they couldn't talk to each other, and then they're confused, and then they warred for a long, long time after. This is basically the sacrifice we're witnessing with humanity today. So that is what bothers me so bloody much, is when we're witnessing all of this, it's a repeat of an already existing thing that happened, in the distant past. We're going through multiple resets, and those resets are created in a spiritual realm of evil in order to, in one way, sacrifice the people among society that are individuals, and, in a weird roundabout sort of way, sacrifice in one piece of this time, this historic movement, the idiots, which a lot of people will say, hey, well, that's great. Well, but they're making people idiots in order to sacrifice them. They're making people dependent. And, after hundreds of thousands of years of people being strong and stronger and stronger, and then developing convenient technologies, then those convenient technologies replace them. And then those strong men and women that built those technologies are now in a position in history where those conveniences made them weak. And it went in a full circle. I mean, look, we got Neuralink has had FDA approval to study brain implants in humans since May. We are moving fast into this technocratic, agenda, while this WorldCoin thing is being pushed forward at the same time as FedNow and, the IMF's World Reserve Currency, or not World Reserve Currency, with their special drawing rights, are creating a global CBDC, where they say they can control people's ability to buy guns and ammo and all that kind of stuff, and look at things online, and they want to track everything you look at online and everything like that. The BRICS World Reserve Currency is doing the same thing. And they're combining forces to some degree, because a lot of IMF countries are trying to join BRICS. And they are test running all these 15-minute cities. All at the same time as the economy implodes, which, again, they use the economy in order to weaken the public over time with inflation. And then when they inevitably come to the point where the currency collapses, then they reel people into the new system of governance, which is whatever they replace it with, which it will always be worse. So in this case, it's the CBDC. It is, again, the Hegelian dialectic: problem, reaction, solution, repeat. And there are so many examples out there of them pushing forward this insanity. I mean, UK considers legislation that allows intelligence agencies to spy on people's internet activity in real time. This will be all part of the Internet of Things. They connect all this stuff down to your DNA, down to your cells, down to your heart health, down to your brain health, down to the thoughts in your head, down to, these brain interfaces, down to your money, which is the thing that makes people most dependent, down to your health, of course, with the mRNA, down to, the housing issue. It'll destroy the housing market. Then you will own nothing and you will be happy, but you will compete with compliance for the things that you want in life, which will come out of weakness. And again, the currency of the future at the end is compliance. And there is no escape when you are tied into this system. And you don't even need the brain interfaces to be tied into that system. You don't even need to have the control of your DNA to be part of that system. You just have to be dependent. You just have to not have the ability to feed your family. You just have to not have the ability to access currency. That's all they really need to do at the end of the day. And then they'll use a social construct, which they've done so well using social media for years, to prep us for social credit, which now is attached to FedNow, which means all intermediary payments coming out of your bank account or through PayPal or Cash App or Zelle go through this intermediary at the Federal Reserve that determines if you are socially acceptable enough to have this money go to the next person. But nonetheless, when they've already dictated this stuff to us with social credit or social media rather for years. And now X is trying to create a global banking system using social media. Another big one right there, guys. You have essentially the psychological programming of the populace, similar to what we saw with the Tavistock Institute and the media in the 60s and 70s, where they planned fake stories in order to see how people reacted in order to develop a plan A, B, C, or D of what to do in the future and how to program people down the line to follow along with an agenda. So plan A didn't work. They already had plan B and a whole stem of plan A, B, C coming out of plan B. And social media is something that's done that for a long time at a much greater scale and has recorded us for years and has also conditioned people to want likes and shares more than have self-respect. They are offloading their respect to the crowd, to the group. And that is what has been so dangerous. So again, if that's part of the thing, you can't access your money, you can't access food, you can't access shelter, but there's also the social conditioning. So again, that's why you don't need the DNA thing, you don't need the Neuralink thing to control you, because at the end of the day you'll want food, and also you don't want to alienate your family or alienate the social group. And one of the things that was really obvious and pertinent in this issue where they brought this psychological programming forward was, of course, you guessed it, SARS-CoV-2, that thing that never got isolated. They said, you're killing grandma, you're killing family members. My friend's grandmother's brother's second cousin had died of COVID. That's what they'd say. So you are killing that person. You're the reason that person's dying because you're not wearing a mask. That is a program that they are going to use with the climate change nonsense. That is a kind of program they'll use if you don't get the food rations, you don't get the CBDC, on all that kind of stuff, because there's a shortage of food. There's a shortage of electricity. And by you not going along with this program, you are taking that away from other people. No, it's a government that's doing it. But nonetheless, that's how they program people. And social media has done that greatly. And that's why the UN had their own program where they paid millions of people around the world. Most of them didn't even know what they were doing, to just make comments about COVID during 2020 to scare people. And secret government nudge units. My goodness, this is all happening now. And there's already carbon credits on bank accounts in many places, not mandatory yet, but it will be soon. If people out there don't see what's happening, they are in for a world of hurt. So again, I always say it comes down to the humanity of the individual. If you want to fight a war for humanity, you have to do all the things that they hate. You have to stand for love, freedom, peace, family, God, all these things. Be responsible, be individually responsible, not collectively responsible, because that's an oxymoron. That means that you are indeed a slave.
I'm looking for partners, collaborators, colleagues who want to join forces with me around the globe and create real value, generational wealth, and financial freedom for everyone else around the world. Get involved in the cryptocurrency markets, get involved in the NFT markets. This is your moment. Life all comes down to a few moments. Don't let this pass. Now it's not too late. Next year is going to be too late. Ultimately, this is about freedom. That's the way I see it. This is about giving power back to the people and enabling billions of people worldwide to use the financial markets to improve their lives and those of their friends and their families and their communities. Honestly, I think it's a violation of human rights not to allow people basic access to financial services. Because right now people are being kept in the dark, they're being robbed of education, and it's a travesty. And so I'm looking for people that want to join me and be a part of this solution. And that all happens inside the DeFi Academy. The gains my students are making are absolutely amazing. Double, triple digit gains in the first month alone. That's amazing. This will change your life. Now is the time to get involved. I'm going to tell you exactly how my students in my academy made money in the last 30 days. I'm talking about real trading results. And let me just whet your appetite a little bit. Let me hit you with some numbers. I'm talking Brendan from New Zealand is up 68.77% on the month. Steve from Europe up 83%. Albert in Singapore up 169.9% on one single trade. I got Susan up 153% on her call options alone, also rocking 139% returns and 442% returns as well on individual trades. These are people that are changing their financial future in the last 30 days, but it's based on trading discipline.
I've graduated over 500 students from inside my academy from over 54 countries around the world. It's amazing. When it comes to crypto, DeFi, and blockchain, we love this space. We truly believe it's the future. This is down to our core. It's authentic to what we're doing, and everybody can tell through the camera because you can't make this stuff up.
If you're watching me now, wherever you are, I implore you, take 60 seconds right now and join my academy. Apply today. Now you've got a chance. Life all comes down to a few moments. What are you going to do? What's the choice that you're going to make?